What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Patrick. Today's video is going to be a very informative video, and I'm going to teach you how to get like me and have crazy back shots, okay? We're going to break down back training today. I have to finish my tricep work first because we're prioritizing our arms. So we're just going to run through triceps very quick, and then when we get into the back training, I'm going to explain exactly what you want to do to grow all portions of your back and kind of what I've realized, what I've discovered, what I've learned, and how it's benefited me. And I'll run it all through in this video. So grab your next meal because I know you're bulking through the summer, and let's go.
1, 2, 3.
This music, I'm gonna send Armand the playlist so he can overlay it. It literally sounds like a ritual, like an actual witchcraft ritual, but it's hype. I can't lie, it's hype. So usually I'll use cuffs for like that type of stuff, like triceps especially. But I saw a comment and it was like, I would use cuffs, but I want to feel like a construction worker building the Golden Gate Bridge. And since I seen that comment, I was like, yo, it's kind of sick. So I ditched the cuffs. In my head now, I'm building the Golden Gate Bridge, like ripping the straight fucking cables with like 80 pounds on that shit, 190 pounds on that shit. It's pretty cool. Bro, you don't know what to talk about. Stack yet? I'm getting close. Damn. We're gonna start off with the most basic beginner tips, and then we're gonna progress to more advanced tips as the video goes on, just so that everybody can get value from whatever level you are in lifting. So, absolute beginner potato brain level stuff, okay? Use straps. It's that simple. A lot of people have trouble connecting with their back. Why? It's one of the muscles that you can't see when you're working out, right? Arms you can see, chest you can see, so people just lack a little bit of that mind muscle connection. You don't want to think of your hands, your forearms, and your biceps as that's what's gripping the weight hard and that's what's pulling it, because that's gonna cause you to use those muscles more because you're used to using those more. When you throw in straps, your grip no longer becomes a limiter because this gives you unlimited grip strength. Also, it allows you to visualize your hands and your arms as hooks and not actually the ones lifting it, just the hook of holding the weight, where you can think of more using your back to move the weight. So, basic level, think of your hands as hooks. How you're gonna do that? Straps will help you. $20 on Amazon, get them. Second tip, once you pass potato level thinking, let's break up the back into two divisions just for peace of mind, okay? You have your thickness, which makes your back pop, come out like 3D wise, and then you have your width, which makes your back look wider going left to right, okay? So thickness and width. Basically, the muscles that are responsible for the thickness portion that's gonna make you look 3D is mainly your rowing movement. And the only difference between the width movements and the thickness movements is really just gonna be the arm path. So the more flared your elbows are, the more you're gonna bias the musculature of the thickness muscles, and the more externally rotated or more tucked your elbow is gonna bias more the lat division, more responsible for the width of your back. So if you're struggling to decide which movement is working more, which portion, just understand where is your arm path. Is your arm more flared out or is it more tucked in? Okay, something I like to do, especially on my thickness movements when we're trying to train, like high arm path, is I like to really let my scapula kind of come forward. And that's kind of why I like to opt for very stable movements. Obviously, for bodybuilding, you want to be isolating things, you want to be taking specific target muscles through their full ranges and to failure. So that's why you want to opt for something with more stability, which is why I would like a chest supported T-bar row more than a just a regular bent over barbell row. But for the reason of allowing my scapula to fully protract and then retract, I feel like it really targets like those deep muscles that are really responsible for that, like, you know, shoulder blade forward and back and full movement of your scapula. So I think when I do that and I let myself, like, as I'm controlling the weight, I'll let myself be pulled forward slightly into like full scapula protraction. And then to get myself out of that, I feel it's gonna use my, you know, the thickness back musculature a lot more than if I were to cut my range of motion short by just like stopping without the full protraction of the scapula. So now shifting gears, when we don't want to focus on those thickness muscles and we want to focus more on the width, more on the lats, I'm going to say for me personally, with the exception of this one exercise, you're always going to get probably more out of an exercise if you go one arm at a time unilaterally. Now, just a disclaimer, rest in between your unilateral sets. Don't do one arm, then immediately do the other arm right after, because you're going to pick up neurological fatigue from doing one set if you're going hard enough. So split those up. But in terms of getting the most lat, it's not so much about the movement of the scapula. Like I said, that's going to be more of the thickness muscles. When we're talking about the lat specifically, it's more the movement of your upper arm in relation to your torso. So any movement like this, or like a row like that, where your upper arm is really in like relation to your torso moving, that's when you're gonna get the most lat out of it. And think about the most internally rotated your elbow is, the more lat you're gonna get. So if you try to do a lat exercise with both arms at the same time, it's hard to fully tuck both at the same time and then row, just because like your arms don't really move like that. But if you can position yourself in a way where you can fully internally rotate, you can shift your whole body because you're only going one arm at a time, then you can get more out of each side. Just make sure you're resting in between. Also for the lats specifically, opposite to the mid-back movements, we want to keep our scapula mainly locked in place, just because, like I said, the lats are mainly focused on the upper arm relation to the torso. So we don't want the scapula moving too much, because we want to keep that constant tension on our lats, because our lats really aren't going to gain much from the scapula moving. So as you watch me do this pull down, I'm going to focus on keeping my shoulder blades down and really just driving through my elbows. So I want to talk a little bit about the balance in your training, right? I think it's important that you're taking your time with your movements, especially for back when you don't have a good mind-muscle connection, to really take your time and really feel it in the region where you want to feel it, because you probably don't have that mind-muscle connection built up, right? I think you need balance because at a certain point, you should be able to nail your setup perfectly and have your technique in mind, and then be able to shut it all off and just go crazy and just rip that weight with everything you have. So I think there's a balance of going nice, slow, controlled, feeling it, but there's also an opportunity when you understand what you're trying to do and like what you're trying to bias, where you can nail your setup in a certain way, where when that setup is nailed, you no longer have to think about going slow and really feeling it where you want to feel it, because that setup is nailed. So you kind of deserve the luxury to just be able to lock in and just fucking rip the weight, because your setup is nailed. So that should keep your, your technique in check and everything like that, and it should be targeting there you want to target. I don't recommend this for a beginner to just go in there and do that, but I think when you reach a certain level where like, okay, my setup's nailed, I know what I have to think about already, you should be able to shut it off and just grip and just rip, which is what you're gonna see me do on this when we get to our top set. Playlist, it's all TikTok edits. You don't have to have your TikTok opening listening to audios. All songs in here are the TikTok edits. And I think also a big factor for you to be able to have that ability to grip and rip and still be able to keep your technique the same and really hit the target muscle that you want to target is going to be your exercise selection. This compared to a bent over barbell row, like I said, I can nail my setup so perfectly that I no longer have to think about anything during my set because I know my lower back's not going to give out. I know I'm not going to be able to like push my legs into it and like ego the weight up just because of how nailed my setup is. So the only thing left to think about is let me pull this fucking weight from here to here. Everything else is taken care of because it's a perfect exercise selection with a lot of, you know, like stability points. And then, you know, I'm at that experience where I can do that. See, I'll just use the top set as a grip and rip. And then that one will take a little bit of weight off, and then I can control it a bit more so that people don't flood my comments. Oh, you're not feeling it in your back, I know. I'm twice your size. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. If you did enjoy, please leave a like rating. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe because we are documenting this growing, and we also are gonna make a lot more videos like this specific to muscle groups. So if you follow all these tips, your back should get bigger. If it doesn't, it's probably your fault. But yeah, so looking pretty lean at 203, feeling pretty big, still making great progress. So we're gonna keep the bulk going strong. If you want any other type videos like this, but you know, different muscle groups, just leave a comment what you want me to make down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.